We're continuing on page Tov Kuf Mem Hey and getting into this idea, the Rishimo. What's going on? So all of what we've been talking about here about the Rishimo, there were some got off into different places in the previous explanation, especially on Yud Beis. So he said that Yanedig Nizboyer B'Shem Sharman Mari Rashbi, the Sifra the Tzniuta Eirech Bekan Besod Elef Almim Besod, excuse me. Let me get a little closer to it and get the light on it better. 1 second. There we go. So he says, he named his barber Shem Sharman Barber Rashbi. He said the Sifra the Tzniuta Eirech Bekan Besod Elef Almim. So what we've been talking about here is the concept of the thousand. Thousand, now he has the word thousand worlds. So these really refers to the Melech Hadaat. Now, try to understand the Melech Hadaat in terms of the concept of Tzimtzum. So they went up into the Dikna of Eric Anpin. And then after that they spread. And we understand that we've been following this. So the Berurim are the Shem Ben, which are Dinim. So all of that, more physicality in them. Shem Ben. That into them now we're bringing in the lights of the Chasadim and Gevuros, the Das. Let me understand what he said here. He says that the Berurim themselves are aspects of Ben. They go up to the Dikna of Eric Anpin, and they spread from there. So he says that into them, Asher Bohem, into them, Nemshachim Oros HaChasadim and Gevuros, the Das. So we are, with the Berurim, have this now implanted in them, are flowing into them besod Shem Ma. But it is in the name Ma. Now where were we? The Berurim themselves are Shem Ben. Then what are coming up are the Shem Ben. Then they're going to spread from the first tikkun of Eric Anpin, and from there we're let's see whether the Dad besod Shem Ma, and then they come in with Chasadim and Gevuros, which are part of the aspect of these Berurim, which is now going to be the Shem Ma. The Nimsake Heim Bechinas Gilufim V'Chakikus. Now, how is this? That this is really what we're talking about, the concept of Gilufim and Chakikos. L'hamshech Bechem Oros Hadas, in order to stream down to them the lights of Das. So, again, they're the lights of Chasad and Gevuros, the Das, and they actually are acting in, is Shem Ma. Okay, it's the middle line, I don't know. And so what do these Gelufi Hakikos do? In order to bring them into them the lights of the Das. Now I'm a little confused about what the them is. The them is the Ben, is the Berurim. So the Berurim by themselves are not so sweet, but they've been refined out, and you got really pure Kedusha here, and now we want to bring into them the Oros of Das. Now it's explained in great detail. He says in the Adir B'Maro, he says, he says, Ki Hamalachim Kadmoim, the original kings, Haim Besod Hagilufim. Now that was a phrase really seemed like it came out of the original words. These are actually the original words. The Gelufim is really the first words, really, of Rabbi Shimon. Haim besod the Gelufim. So the Malachim Kademoim, that is that Shem Ben, which are the ones that broke, they themselves are the concept of these Gelufim. Now Gelufim, let me read it on. Gelufim shal Rishimo. The Gelufim that came from the Shimo, Shepirashna Lamala. So this Rishimo that was deposited at the time of the Tzimtzum, he's now saying that the Malachim themselves, which represent the name Ben, Haim Beso the Gelufim, they themselves, they're talking about the Malachim. So now we're talking about the first Melech and all of the two other Malachim that go with him. He said, Haim Beso Hagilufim, Shel Harishima Shepirashno Lamala, that we explained up above. Because according to what was originally laid out for them at the beginning, so he didn't really, to my satisfaction, explain how the Rishimo works into so many different patterns. I'm using the word pattern. In order to make rivulets and so on and so forth, different paths. Because of the way that they're put together at the beginning, he's talking about the Berurim now. That's the way the Tikkun will work also. That's all the different parts, I guess. There's more on that over there. The shame the sham Bezel the sham the behinach of the Amar be'idra Rabba. He said the kuhul the gelifa the iskaim. What does that mean? All of them were carved out, but they didn't last. By Inyan Gagilufa, like we're talking about this carving out. He says, wait, I lost him again. Okay, I don't know exactly where I lost you. Down at the bottom of the previous page, it says, for Inyan, yeah, let me see where I'm at. Let me see. Over here, okay. For Inyan ki hagalufim, the malachim, what is carved out for the malachim, kadmoim, okay, these are our birurim. Let me see what, I got to get this lined up. Okay, there we go. Kadmoim hu shalo yakaimu, that they shouldn't last. Shehem hakelim haboim beso hakitzonius, that the kalim that come from the concept of kitzonius, shebechem kol yitzarek lehispashet hapanemios, that you need to have the panemios go through this. Let me see this. Let me read this last part one more time, and then we'll look at the notes. He says, "V'kuchul de galifo lezavuret." He said, "V'kuchul de galifo." Everything that gets carved out below is kaimu, but the galifim, I don't know, are not made to last. Now he meant that the galufim are dinim. Maybe it's referring to something we saw in the previous notes. I don't know, but he said the galifo v'lo miskaimu. So I want to explain it. V'ha'inyan ki hagalifo the malachim. The galifo that takes place for these kings. Wait a minute. Here we go. To these king kadmoim, who shalol niskayim became hakalim haboyim besod gitzoni. He said that the kalim who shalol niskayim, the niskayim shehem hakalim haboyim besod gitzonius shebechem kol yitzarek lehis pashet apanemius. So I guess what he said there was what we saw yesterday a little bit, was the idea that they're dinim by themselves, and without having the panemios come into it, which is the shem ma, they can't last. So therefore, you have the shem ma comes in, and that's what I heard. Let's go down here into this lower level on number Yud Gimel. Let me see if I can get it so that I can read it. Okay, let me see. So now number Yud Gimel says, Inyan of Rishimo, the idea of that bit of Kedu, or the bit of the Ein Sof that is left over, Shuhu Shorish HaKalim, which is really the root of the Kalim. Mavur Bekisvel Ramchal, Bekama Mekomos, he talks about it in a lot of different places. Brave Gam Ba'adeh B'maram, also look over there. B'zel Lashon of V'teda. So you should know this. Shebeseder Zechat Nisader HaBetziyu Shal HaSfiros Mitachidas Himson. So he said the word are this order what? Order that the light, there's a constriction of the light and a Rishima is left over. Is that what he's talking about? Or is he talking about something else? Hold 1 second. Okay, doing the best I can here. Because here, according to this order now, we're seeing how the Betzius is all laid out from the beginning of the Tzimtzum. Now, what does that mean? Shuhu Bisman HaTzimtzum, which is at the time of the Tzimtzum, which he said leads over the Rishima. V'havein Ma'od Inyan Hazeh. So understand this Inyan well. He says, Nisha Rishima B'Socha Chalo, because we see that it's remaining in the hollow, this Rishima. And from the Rishima itself, it makes the Kalim. So, what does the Rishima do? Apparently, it carves out. So I'm not sure, not sure how that mechanism works. Then after that, then the kav comes into that, which he's really up above. He seemed to make it sound like it's the name. It's the Shema Machadosh. He said, and this makes actually the light itself, the essence of what its panemius is. So the kalim come from the concept of tzimtzum with the rishima. Who sod ha'ein sof baruchu hanichna b'sof ha'chalo ha'tzimtzum, which comes into this hollow of the tzimtzum. Adkan. Became kasib ba'adav b'maram. Also, it writes there over there l'holon b'zelushono, and this is what it says. Hine b'techila na'asa ha'yud kalim. So let's see what he's talking about now. Beginning, the first thing happens, and I'm assuming he sees this one Rishimo somehow makes Yud Kalim. Now, I'm not sure how could that be, but that's what he says. V'heim toldos min tzimtzum. And he says the Kalim are really generations, are descendant from the tzimtzum. Min Rishimo shalachalo. So we understand that these two pieces are very important for the making of these kalim from which we're talking. So after that, within them, it was necessary for the atzmos, which is the light itself, to come through, to spread into there. But so the oros. So first you have the tzimtzum, the rishimo, and the kalim. So then after that comes the light, Ayin Sham. So he said the Indian that Hitzonius, that really have a root in the Malachim that Matt died. So it brings like this: the Zerah B'Shem, the Mabusharim, what does it say? Ayin Sham, Rei Gamba Eitz Chaim, also there. He says, Elokim. So this Elokim, this is a quote now. So Elokim Shuhu Hitzonius. So Elokim meaning is it Lashon Dinim, the Kalim, who Atzbacha B'Shem Ben. It's the self is the Shem Ben. Asher Habachu so Zayim Malach Shemesa, which is the Zayim Malach and the Shemechlim are being Mavura. And so there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of there's some missing steps here, but he says Kamosha Shene'emar V'Yavocha B'nei Yisrael B'nei Elokim. So he says, and they came, the B'nei Elokim. What does it mean? The Chem Timsa Kevin Shehem Zayim Malachim, that since they are Zayim Malachim Levad, there are only 7 Malachim. Yesh B'chem Rapach Nitzutzim, they have therefore 288 Nitzutzim Shehem Asma. Now let's go over to Asmab again. So not exactly like that, but Asmab is really broken down into 472s. We know how that works out with the additional parts of the Rapach. So he says Nitzutzim Shehem, which are Asma, the Sifra Hanala, for the reason we said up above. And once again, we're quoting, so what he said up above, not sure. What did he say up above? Because what happens is the Vok becomes 10 spheros, Gemuros, the Chitzonius. Now, that transition, he's stating a fact. He's stating a fact that inside of this, let's see, like the Tzimtzum is like a womb. And so inside of that, he says, there are 7 malachim. Let me go back to the Lechem Timsa. Kevin Shehem Zayim Malachim Levad. There's only 7 malachim here. Yesh Bechem Rapach Netzutzim, and they have 288 Netzutzim, which are the Asma. So I'm not sure exactly how this all works together, how we got 288 Netzutzim, but we're talking about what's being resurrected from Bia, from the malachim. Ki Havok Naase Yud Sfiros, Gemuros, the Chitzonius. Now, is what he's doing, I'm asking, is what he's doing is putting the 7 malachim opposite the Vok. So in other words, it's the same thing. What does Asma got to do with that? But it has to do with the Netzutzos. So Netzutzos are aspects of all of these different names that fell, I guess. The Sibah Hanal, he says, Ki Havok Na'asa Yud Sfiros Gemuros the Chitzonius. They become 10 spheros of Kalim. Umaschilin Mechochma Shu Av, etc. Ki Misham Rashis Chitzonius their Anpin, because Av, which is, I guess, Chochma, is the beginning of the Chitzonius of Zer Anpin. Shu B'Bechinas Zayim Malach in the Ben. And what is this? The Rashis Chitzonius of Zer Anpin, which are the Zayim Malach in the Ben. I need to read it again. The whole idea needs Hezber. He said the Repach is Asma. So the Asma is in the Asma, all the 288 Netzutzim. So then he switches from that, which I would like to hear more about that, but he didn't. Then he says the Vok, Naasa Yud Sfiros, Gemuros, the Chitzonius. So where did the Vok come from? So the Vok, okay, the Vok is Zer Anpin, and it can be made into 10 spheros of Chitzonius. Amaschilin Mechochma Shuhu Av, and it continues on down. Ki Misham Rashis Chitzonius Zer Anpin Shuhu B'Bechinas Zayim Malach in the Ben. Ki, from there, trying to figure out what's the there. So Ki Misham, that is from the concept that you had the Vok becomes 10. Misham Reish Chitzonius Zer Anpin, that becomes the beginning. I guess he's talking about Chochma here. He says that this is the beginning of the Zayim Malachim, of the Misham Reish Chitzonius Zer Anpin, Shehu Zayim Malachim, which is the Chitzonius is Zayim Malachim, the Ben. Now, like I say, it's like he has the number 7, he has the number 6. Is the number 7 and the number 6 the same thing? It's just interchangeable? But the thing is that the Penimius and the Keser, who Ma Atzma, what's inside of it is Ma. So the Malachim come in again, and there's, I don't know how you got to the Vok. That's the problem. How you got to the Vok or the Zayim Malachim, we know Zayim Malachim, they come up. And they're made into 10, let's say. Let me say that's how it goes. Ki Misham Rashis Chitzonius Zer Anpin, because from this Av, or Chochma, that's the Rashis is the Chochma, Shehu B'Bechinas Zayim Malachim, the Ben, which is actually the idea of the Zayim Malach of the Ben. Aka Penimius, but that's just the Kalim themselves. But HaKeser Hu Ma. The Keser is Ma, Atzmo, the Zer Anpin Achodah. So that becomes the head of these 10 spheros. So it's going to be that after the tikkun ad kan. So it needs a lot more explanation, I think. Are you still there, Rabbi? I don't think he's. Wow. Okay. I don't know where I lost you. Say the word again. So I don't know. I have the first word on the line. It's Vakeser hu ma ats. Okay. Now he's bringing all of these things in, but they're not really put together well. So he says. So like I said, there's seven malachim. He says their anpin is a vuk. So what do we got? So what are we doing in this Simpson? We're making a zeranpin there. I said I don't know where that came from. First we were talking about the Tzimtzum and the Rishimo and the making the paths. Now we seem to be talking about the seven Malachim, six parts of Zeranpin, and of course the whole Asmab, which is bringing them all up, and then they're developing into Kalim, which are 10. How that happens, I'm not sure. And then he says the Keser, but the Keser is Ma itself, the Zeranpin. So you have Asmab and a Keser on top of it, let's say. So he says Atzma, the Zah HaChodesh, the Zah HaChodesh Shel Achar Tikun, which is taking place now after the Tikun. That's what it's going to be. Adkan. Regan Be'etzchaim, so also look over there. V'zadashanda Klal Ha'oila. So one idea that we get out of this is what? Ki Bizmana Ibor, at the time of the Ibor, look out. 1 second. I have a little bit of a mess here because of the problem I had yesterday. But we'll get it worked out. So once again, the words are Bizman ha'ibor hachitzon. It was ki bizman ha'ibor na'asa kli hachitzon dezer anpin. The time of the what? Of gestation of that particular point. The Zah, Kolo Marambach Evarim, that's when you see that Zah has 248 limbs. He has already this. Bin Habirurim Asher Birulu Abba Be'ima Mizayim Malacha Shemesa. So that's about it. There are a lot of ideas there, but I didn't see how it was going to be easy to put them together. But hopefully in the next part, he has Vav Bi'urim Begelufe Begelufe. So we'll find out some more about it. But what? So just in a general review, we understand there's a Rishimo, and the Rishimo is really the beginning of the making of Kalim. So how and the carving process. So maybe it means that there's an actual as you're bringing up the malachim, the various different malachim, they're adding into the I guess the tzimtzum process. How I don't know exactly, and therefore they're making more. They're making into a vok. They're making it into a 10 spheros, etc. Okay, that's the best I could do right now. Call two. Thank you very much. Bye bye.